今、黄金のマスクがよみがえる。パーソナルワークステーション X68000。
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric series on the Sharp X68000. You're getting a bonus episode this week with Akumajo Dracula. Why are you getting a bonus episode? For two main reasons. One, because everyone asked when I was going to cover this game, and two, someone didn't pay attention to the calendar and didn't have a release for December 17th, and I don't want to start a new retrospective the week before Christmas so you get one more bonus. We're going to be having a lot of fun with this one today. I'm going to show you Mr. FPJ software emulation as well as the PlayStation 1 remake Castlevania Chronicles. To say Akumajo Dracula on the Sharp X68000 is probably the system's best game and most beloved game would be an understatement. This is the type of title that people think of when they think of the Sharp X68000, the same way that people thought of Castlevania Rondo of Blood back in the day when they thought about the PC Engine CD. It is absolutely an outstanding Castlevania game, old school hard, and one of my favorites of all time. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But in my opinion, there's no one perfect way to play Akumajo Dracula outside of the original Sharp X68000 hardware. Right now we are on software emulation, and it's one of those things, it's going to work until it doesn't. You'll see there that floating eye floats behind that window and suffers a little bit of a layering priority issue. That's something you're going to see in X68000 emulation, whether you're using the X68000 Mini, if you're using SM6 Pro. It is just kind of inherent that the Sharp X68000 is going to suffer every once in a while in this respect, and that is totally to be expected. Emulation is not perfect in any format. You need the original hardware. Now if we move over to the Mr. FPGA side of things, you will see that the layering priority is correct over here, but if you look at the top of that score player area, you're getting some of the cloud effects from a previous stage retained up in there. So this is definitely, as far as performance is concerned, Mr. winning the charge right now, but I want to make the point that there is no one perfect way to play this game. When we get to the PlayStation 1 remake, I'll explain why that one's a little bit strange as well. But don't get me wrong, all of these are incredible experiences and definitely one that you should have. It's just a situation in which the best way to play this game is on real Sharp X68000 PC hardware, and that means you're going to have to bring your wallet because it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. A fully working modded out X68000, $2,000 minimum, and it goes up from there. As we move over back to Mr. FPJ and come down into the merman area, just get a look at what's going on here. This looks absolutely spectacular. The background is rich. It looks so good. This is one of the prettiest 2D Castlevania games ever made in my opinion, and it's also one of the hardest. It's definitely going to give you way more challenge than the NES original, but that is why we're here for Castlevania in the first place. We want that challenge. Now if we move over to XM6 Pro, you're going to see that now suddenly that background is completely missing, and a couple of people asked me when I was doing this series why that was. It just seems to be that it has some emulation issues, and I've tried more than one Sharp X68000 emulator and they all give me different visual aberrations, and that's not to judge the emulators whatsoever. All of them do a great job at what they do. It just isn't perfection. That's the point I want to get across. But honestly, every single way to play this game is still going to be ultimately the most fun way to play it because it is just such a good game. If I had my default, I would definitely go to the Mr. FPJ side of things and play the X68000 core, because outside that little issue at the top of the screen, for the most part, it's going to be visually glitch free and you're going to be able to start the game, play it, and see the credits scroll if you're good enough. From there, I would actually say Castlevania Chronicles on PlayStation 1 would be my next favorite way to play the game. So I'm kind of trying to say here is that unless you want the perfect experience on the Sharp X68000, there's other ways to play this game, and I'll definitely detail some of those differences in just a moment. But this bat enemy being basically remade from the NES version of the game is just so fun to see on the X68000, and you will see we switch back over to XM6 Pro. This game just has so many iconic moments in it. I would say it's probably second only to Rondo of Blood as far as my favorite 2D Castlevania games that aren't Metroidvanias. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me what is your favorite Castlevania game of all time. I would be curious to hear, and you'll see the back got me the first time there. A little bit of a bad performance today. And I can't stress enough just how good of a remake this game truly was. And it's not like Castlevania didn't get a lot of remakes. The MSX version of the game, completely different than the NES original, even though it was the same game. And something like Akumajo Dracula here, taking the beats from the NES original and completely redoing them on the Sharp X68000 was just such a sight to behold. And I will say it's got one of the best Castlevania soundtracks of all time either, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds. First, we're going to do the XM6 Pro with the standard audio, then I'm going to give you some MIDI off off the Mr. FPGA with the MT32 Pi hat, but enjoy because this music is an 11 out of 10. I mean, honestly, just some of the best music of all time, whether you're playing the FM synth version of the game or whether you're playing the MIDI version of the game. And I'm really never quite sure which soundtrack I like better, whether it's MIDI or the FM synth. They both have their own pluses and minuses, and you can kind of pick and choose which one you want if you are on the Mr. FPGA side of things. I've never been able to figure out how to do MIDI support on XM6 Pro or any of the other emulation options like the X68000z Mini. So if you want that MIDI, you either have to have a real Sharp X68000 or you need to use the Mr. FPGA core, because even though it's not done, it still works well enough to play this game and have an absolute great time at it. And that is the reality of things. I'm curious how many people have actually played the X68000 version of Akumajo Dracula. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, is this something you played before, just seen footage, or are you learning about a new game today? I feel like most people have known about this one, but I do surprise myself every once in a while and find out that you guys don't. Now we've gotten to the raft section of the game, and I will say right now, I firmly believe that this raft is the hardest boss in the game. No, it is not a boss whatsoever, it's just a raft that goes up, but the physics and how you have to jump and get knocked around by the shots means you're going to have to practice this area. You're going to fall and die in new and inventive ways, and it's going to absolutely drive you nuts. Once you get past this, it is pretty much smooth sailing. Now we're moving over to the PlayStation 1 version of the game, Castlevania Chronicles, which has both an enhanced version of Akumajo Dracula as well as a straight port, but it's going to change a couple colors, it's going to change the music ever so slightly, so it's like X68000 plus in my opinion. It is an amazing way to play the game, and honestly probably the easiest way to play, whether you go over to Duck Station or if you use real PlayStation 1 hardware. I do have a copy of this game in my collection. I will never part with it. But the point I'm trying to get across is when you think of Akumajo Dracula, maybe you're really actually thinking of more than one version of the game. There's the Sharp X68000 version and the PlayStation 1 version, and they are both incredible in their own rights. And I would love one day to own a Sharp X68000 and have perfect performance on Castlevania Chronicles, but honestly it's one of those things I'm waiting for the Mr. FPGA core, because even I don't want to spend thousands of dollars. But you finally get bloody tears in a game, and that's always fun, which leads me into the second soundtrack sample. Go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll be right back with a bit more. It's hard to call anything perfect because anytime I use the word perfect on the channel, people want to debate some sort of minor flaw, but I think we can probably all safely say that the music in Akumajo Dracula, Castlevania Chronicles, and every version of the game is just absolute Castlevania perfection. It might be the best soundtrack of all time in my opinion, and I love all the little visual effects they put into the game as well. This is just one of those titles. Every single time I play it, I have to play it from start to finish because I love Castlevania. I've been playing it the entirety of my gaming life, and I love when we get new titles. And I was very pleasantly surprised to get Haunted Castle Revisited earlier this year. If you have not checked that one out yet, definitely do it. But this was just a bonus episode in the X68000 series because, like I said, in my timing, I thought I had videos every Tuesday all the way up until Christmas Eve where I have something special planned. And then I realized going through the playlist, I had shorted myself one, and people are asking for more episodes on the X68000, so don't worry, I have other plans for the hardware. I'm going to be doing a video on the best setup for Mr. FPGA for the X68000 shortly, and even previewing some games that work perfectly on the core. But if you've never played Akumajo Dracula before, you're getting up on Christmas vacation. Download it and play it however you want to, because trust me, if you've never experienced this game before, you're 100% missing out. But unless I decide to do another bonus episode, this is the end of the X68000 series, and I'll see you for the next retrospective. Bye-bye.